I want you to imagine this scenario. Remember the Bills-Broncos playoff game from the 2025 season? Remember this play where Josh Allen threw a pass for Brandon Cooks, and it was a jump ball, and the Broncos came down with it and were awarded an interception? I want you to imagine that you were a Bills fan at Mile High on that day. You're at the game, and you see this play, and you think the referees got it 100% wrong. That was absolutely a catch. And not only was that a catch, but that was a catch that, because it was in the red zone and all you needed was a field goal to win, was going to send you to the AFC Championship and give you, quite possibly, your best chance at a Super Bowl since the 1990s. You're absolutely irate about this, and you're also probably a couple beers in. So you decide to do what any rational fan would do in that spot. You get out of your seat, you scream, you run down, you hop the fence, you jump onto the field, and you charge at the official that made the call and decide to punch him. You take a swing at the man that robbed you of your season, and in your mind, it's 100% worth it. Of course, a scenario like that couldn't possibly happen, right? To hop the fence and run onto the field with that much security in the way, and then to have enough time once you're on the field and have enough speed and enough stamina to run to the official, correctly identify him, and give him a good punch? It seems almost impossible, right? Well, I bring that up because I kid you not, something like this actually happened with this team right here. In 1967, Washington was off to a perfectly mediocre start, as through 6 games, near the halfway point of the season, they found themselves with a Thanos line, as everything was perfectly balanced with 2 wins, 2 draws, and 2 losses. Unfortunately for Washington, things were trending in the wrong direction, as you can tell with these lowlights, as following a 2-1 start, Washington had got winless in their last 3 games. And this was a problem, because it was very hard to make the postseason in 1967, and time was running out for Washington to do something. It's extremely tough nowadays for teams to go 3 straight weeks without winning and make it in. But in 1967, where only the division winner made it in and there were no wild cards, forget about it. And this was especially true when you consider the fact that the Dallas Cowboys, atop the Capital Division, had a 5-1 record, as well as the head-to-head advantage. So the only way for Washington to make the playoffs was to run the table. One slip the rest of the way, and they're done. They could not afford to be below 500 at the halfway point and on a 4-game winless streak, especially with the way Dallas was playing atop the division. And for this team right here, their next opponent couldn't have come at a worse possible time. Washington needed a get-right game to get back into the swing of things and right the ship. And instead, they got the Baltimore Colts, who were undefeated through 6 weeks with a 4-0-2 record, boasting the number 1 offense in the league at 185 points scored, or close to 31 points per game, and the number 3 defense in the league at just 91 points allowed, or a hair over 15 points per game. They had the best quarterback in football, and arguably the best quarterback of all time at that point in Johnny Unitas, who was playing at an MVP level. And with the way he was playing, along with the rest of the team, no one was giving Washington any sort of chance at beating Baltimore in the Battle of the Beltway. Heck, not even Washington's own players were giving themselves a great chance to beat Baltimore, especially with some of the injuries they were dealing with in their backfield. When Sonny Jurgensen was asked about the strategy to stopping the 9-point favorites, his response was, quite simply, pray. Always a good sign when your starting quarterback is resorting to a higher power as the only way you have a chance at winning. So with that in mind, now it was time for this game right here. A must-win game for Washington to have any sort of chance at making the playoffs and keeping their season alive. Coming against an undefeated team that's the best team in football right now, and a team that is right down the road in an in-state rivalry. Sure enough, near the end of the game, the Colts were the team in front, leading at 17-13, thanks in part to another solid day by Johnny Unitas, who had 242 yards passing and a 22-yard touchdown to Alex Hawkins in the first half. Still, Washington was very much in this game. This was expected to be a blowout. Remember, Baltimore was a 9-point favorite entering the contest. Washington was hanging in there, going toe-to-toe with arguably the best team in football. Despite some of their struggles today, they were right in this. If they could just score late in the fourth quarter and find a way to drive down the field and punch it in, then they'd pull off one of the biggest upsets of the season and would keep their hopes alive in the playoff hunt. Instead, as Washington was at midfield, Sonny Jurgensen threw this pass to Bobby Mitchell, the Hall of Fame wideout. Mitchell was very good at hanging on to the ball. On 71 touches in 1966, he didn't fumble once. However, this was 1967, and this was not one of them. Mitchell caught the ball across midfield, and as he was going down, he coughed up the ball, as it was stripped away from him by cornerback Bobby Boyd, who, for my money, should be in the Hall of Fame, as he ended his career on the All-1960s team and was third all-time in interceptions at the time of his final game in 1968. But that's beside the point. Point is, Boyd stripped the ball away from Mitchell. The Colts recovered, and that was the ball game. And quite frankly for Washington, that was the season. Even though the clock hadn't hit triple zeros and the final gun hadn't gone off, as there were 2 minutes remaining, there was no hope for Washington to come back anymore. Final score, Baltimore 17, Washington 13. And if you watch this play, you might think that the refs blew the call. The play should have been over, right? Mitchell wasn't going forward. He caught the ball at the 46-yard line of Baltimore and was immediately held up by Boyd and pushed 2 yards backward to the 48. You could absolutely argue that forward progress was stopped and the play was dead. It would have been a debatably quick whistle, but it's close enough where you could see how an official could have blown his whistle here. Again, I'm not saying this was a bad call, as it truly could go either way. And for my money, it's not forward progress, as it was a good call to not blow the whistle early and to let it play out. However, Washington fans thought that this play was highway robbery. Mitchell caught the ball, was going backward, and instead of the referee blowing the play dead, he just let it continue, even though Mitchell wasn't making an effort to go forward? This blown call just cost us the game and cost us our season. One reporter said on the call, everyone considered it a rotten call by a myopic official, and it was a gross error. As head coach Otto Graham said on this, after saying he was going to register a complaint with Mark Duncan, the NFL supervisor of officials, the phone lines are going to burn. So after the bad call during this game right here that you could debate whether it was a bad call or not, fans did what you'd expect with a controversial call like this, booing and voicing their displeasure. And then there was one fan who decided to take matters into his own hands, doing something that I genuinely cannot believe has been lost throughout NFL history 6 decades later. Because if this happened today, number one, it'd be the leading story on every news outlet, and number two, it would change security measures forever. But one fan from the North Stands decided to hop the fence at DC Stadium and run onto the field to give the official a piece of his mind. For some reason, security didn't react. It was the 60s, so security measures at ball games were definitely not what they are today. But still, the fan was able to get onto the field. The official, at the time, was talking with head coach Otto Graham and quarterback Sonny Jurgensen, both of whom were understandably irate about the call. While Graham and Jurgensen were giving the head linesman, Tom Hensley, a piece of his mind, the fan, a man in his 40s by the name of Michael Shower, decided to run onto the field, going full charge at the sideline. At first, Graham was scared of the fan, who was short, fat, bald, and had rolled up the sleeves on his dress shirt, was coming after him, with Graham saying, "I thought he was coming after me for my coaching." Then he waved me back. Shower wasn't charging the field to go at Graham. He was charging the field to go at Hensley. Now, as stupid as it might sound to try and charge at an NFL official, it's even dumber when you realize that Hensley played defensive tackle in the early 1950s at Virginia Tech and Tennessee on a football scholarship. A fat 40-year-old who's probably had a couple of beers in his system versus an NFL official who is a former Division I defensive tackle. Yeah, this decision to try and swing at the official went as well as you'd expect, because Shower decided to take a swing at the linesman and former defensive tackle, and he completely missed. At that point, police realized, oh crap, there's a fan on the field. We should do something about this, and decided to arrest him. Unfortunately, there's no video footage, and it's not because it's lost media. CBS, whether it was a deliberate choice or just everyone being asleep at the wheel like security, decided not to show it. As one writer said, it is exceedingly difficult to understand the CBS policy on such a matter. The network spends countless hours and dollars to make sure that pro football comes across as a game of action and violence, which it is. But when a little fat man runs out to take an irate poke at an official, it is deemed necessary that the audience know nothing whatsoever of what is taking place. It is passing strange that one little fat man can make the omnipotent eyes of CBS suddenly turn into ostriches and bury their heads in the sand. And I completely get where the writer is coming from here. I completely get not wanting to show fans running onto the field and glorify that behavior and give them their moment in the spotlight. But if the fan makes contact with an official or a player and is endangering the lives and safety of others, you have a responsibility to show it, if for no other reason than to have evidence. Drunken idiot runs onto the field for a little bit and gets tackled, fine not showing it. Drunken idiot runs onto the field and tears someone's ACL, we need to see the footage, because at that point, those actions are directly impacting the game. And what this man did was directly impacting the game, trying to punch an official. At least we have a photo of the man. And yep, if you had told me to describe what a fat 40-something-year-old from the 1960s looks like, I'd probably give you that exact description. Nevertheless, Shower got arrested after running more than 50 yards and swinging at Hensley, and the fan was ejected and charged with disorderly conduct and assault, which, I mean, yeah, that's fairly obvious. The price he paid for doing this? A mere $10. Seriously, Shower ran onto the field and swung at an official, and he was released from jail and was fined $10 measly. Even adjusted for inflation today, that's only $100. For some perspective, if you get ejected from an NFL game today, the only way to go back is to take the fan code of conduct class, which costs $250. You drink one too many beers and want to enter an NFL game again, it's $250. You run onto the field and punch an official, it's $100. Something seems off with that one, to say the least. I don't know what's crazier, the fact that it was only a $10 fine for doing that, or the fact that the newspaper just flat out doxed him and said that he lived at 5409 Border Street Southeast. Just freaking plaster his home address everywhere. Makes sense. Gonna take a wild guess though, and say that if you try this today, your fine would be way more than $100. And you'd be spending way more than a couple hours in jail, and you would definitely be banned from every venue for life. Just a hunch. What's the moral of the story here? If you're a fan, just because you don't like a call, doesn't give you the right to run onto the field and freaking punch the officials. I think that should go without saying, but apparently not, because in the 1960s, someone was able to try it. And if you're going to punch an official, at the very least, not that I'm advocating for it, but if you're going to do it, don't do it against an official who literally played football and was on the defensive line. You probably have a better chance against a skinny 70-year-old, but again, the man who's running onto the field to punch an official isn't going to be in the right headspace in the first place, and probably isn't much of a logical thinker. The funniest part is that I don't even think the call was that bad. I thought it was the right call. It would have been an abrupt whistle to call forward progress that early. If you're going to do it, at least do it after the Hail Mary or the Rams-Saints NFC Championship or something where it's so egregious. And if you're going to do it, I'd recommend having more than $10 on you, because something tells me that the punishment for doing so is going to be way, way worse than it was 60 years ago. Because when all these elements are in play, you can't exactly be surprised when this play backfires. Talk about a dumb decision. Check out our live streaming schedule for the next few days. We're live every single day on this channel, whether we're covering a sporting event or playing GeoGuessr or just taking your requests. So make sure you like and subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss a single time that we go live and so that you can join this community. Also, thanks to all our members and our Patreon supporters who get exclusive perks like their name at the end of each video, members-only Q&A streams, and cool emojis to use on videos and during streams. See how you can join this community and become a member or a Patreon member by clicking the link in the description below.